Hello, BookTube. This is Weekly Reads. I'm doing an earlier Weekly Reads than I normally do because I have a reading project the last 4 days of August that I want to group with next week's Weekly Reads rather than doing the first part today and then the rest of it next week. But I'll get to that at the end. So my reading week has largely been very good. I read 12 volumes of manga over the weekend. I reread 2 slim volumes of poetry, and the only blight on my week's reading was my failed Belle redemption of The Moons of Jupiter by Alice Munro. So, I first picked this short story collection up last year for a BookTube event book tag called the Birth Year Book Tag, which was created by Criminali, in which participants entered a number of questions about, I don't know if it was the one where it has questions about like your birth year and then specific dates in your life and then a current question or not. But part of the tag was to read or to pick up to read books published in your birth year. And The Moons of Jupiter was one of 5 or 6 books I picked up that ultimately bailed on all of them. They were all terrible. Although the worst of them was Shame. But anyway. So I've had this in my collection since that Belle last year. And over the past few weeks, I've been gravitating back towards it, wanting to give this book a Belle redemption. And, well, it's a Belle redemption rejection. So for those of you who don't know, I bill fairly heavily. And I sometimes give second or third or more chances to a book that I previously billed on, or billed on several times, and by that point, in hopes that there was something external, that there was just something about the book, about me, about the time, about my mental condition, whatever, that prevented me from enjoying the book. But that if I work at it, I'll eventually finish it and hopefully enjoy it. That sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't, and in this case it didn't. I found The Moons of Jupiter to be every bit as dull and unexciting and just not my cup of tea as I did the last time I read it. I mean, obviously Alice Munro has her fans, but just it doesn't work for me. So, yeah. At the next unhaul, I think I will be sending The Moons of Jupiter hopefully to a better home. So the 2 poetry collections I reread, and I've reread both of them for the umpteenth time by now, were Flyover Country by Austin Smith, who Austin Smith has quickly become one of my favorite poets, although he only has like 2 collections that I know of. But they're 2 fantastic collections, and this was a delight to reread. And The Lions by Peter Campion, which is my favorite collection of his. It's really fun to read. So that brings me to the manga I read over the course of this past weekend. I read 6 volumes of Naruto by Masashi Kishimoto, volumes 7 through well. And so Naruto is it's a manga series. It's one of the most popular series ever. It's about a young man named Naruto Uzumaki, or Uzumaki Naruto, this young man here, who is the class clown in his student ninja class. He is the town pariah. He um, desires to be Hokage because the leader of his village. Because let me rephrase. So Uzumaki Naruto is a young man living in the ninja village called the Hidden Leaf Village, Konohagakure. Um, he is he's the class troublemaker, the class clown. He's the town pariah, but he dreams of becoming the Hokage, the leader of the village, and the strongest ninja in the village. Um, One day he learns that he is the container, the human jail of a demonic entity called the Nine-Tailed Demon Fox, which on the day of his birth attacked the village. And the previous Hokage, the fourth Hokage, sealed the Demon Fox within Naruto. And Naruto graduates from school and becomes an apprentice ninja under a senior ninja called Kakashi, alongside two of his classmates, Sakura and Sasuke. Um, After a few months of training and minor missions, Kakashi has registered Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura into the Chunin exams, cross-national selection or promotion selection to the next rank from Genin, which is apprentice ninja. So how it roughly works is you start off once you graduate from the academy as a Genin or apprentice ninja who work in 3-person teams with a senior ninja as their supervisor. The next rung up is Chunin, in which you can, I think, work more or less independently, as well as working in various combinations. But also, this gives a more leadership position as well, and other positions available. And so they're basically called journeyman ninjas. And then the next rung up is Jonin, who command the 3-person cells, or 3-person teams of Genin, operates higher ranked missions, and are master ninjas. And then, of course, there's rungs above that. But anyway, so in the volumes I read this week or last week now, which I enjoyed immensely. They were a lot of fun. Our main characters, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura, excuse me, are participating in the second level, the second stage of the Chunin exams, in which the team surviving the first round are sent into the forest of death for 5 days to survive, to make it to Central Tower endpoint, and to collect a second scroll. So basically, the teams are given a scroll and they have to complete the mission by gaining the opposite scroll and then reaching the tower at the center of the forest after 5 days or before 5 days is up. During the test, elite former Konoha ninja named Orochimaru attacks and bites Sasuke. And Sasuke and Naruto are out, leaving only Sakura to defend her teammates. 3 members or a team of some ninja attack, leaving Sakura to basically defend against 3 far more capable ninja than she is. This draws in several other Konoha teams, initially just Rock Lee, but also the team led by Asuma, the grandson of the Hokage, no, the son of the Hokage, who are composed of Ino, Choji, and Shikamaru. And so they also help defend Naruto and Sasuke before Sasuke wakes up and drives off the Sound Ninjas. And then gradually they split up, and our main characters go on their way, eventually picking up another scroll with the help of a ninja called Kabuto. And then they eventually make it to the tower. And then there's a bit of a flashback over some of what happened during this from other characters' perspectives, including the knowledge that Orochimaru interfered in the exams, the speed at which the sound team, or not the sound team, the sand team, composed of Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro, made it to the tower. And another Konoha team's sort of not quite encounter with the sand team, but observation of the sand team. And so once all of the surviving teams make it to the tower, there's still too many to kind of advance to the third round. And so there's a brief little tournament here to sort of weed out half of this group. And so it ends up being one-on-one battles. So Sasuke fights one of Kabuto's teammates. Kankuro fights the other of Kabuto's teammates. Kabuto himself resigns, and it's revealed later that he's more than he seems. Sakura and Ino fight, and that is a really great fight. One of the great ones of this sort of point in the exams. Naruto fights Kiba, another Konoha training ninja. His teammate Shino fights one of the sound ninja and mutilates him. Another sound ninja fights Choji and wins, although he's later killed by Gaara. Shikamaru takes out the other final sound ninja in a quick but interesting fight. Temari defeats Tenten in a so one-sided fight that it's not actually even shown. It is in the manga. I mean, it is in the anime, but not in the manga. Her teammate Neji defeats his cousin Hinata in one of the most brutal fights in this arc, although the most brutal is the fight between Gaara and Rock Lee. And that is just, it's brutal, but very good as well. And so the winners of each fight then proceed to the third stage, where it's basically a standard tournament arc, which is what the Chunin exams is meant to be. So one of the standard features of shonen manga, which Naruto is a prime example of, is the tournament arc, where the characters are entered into some form of tournament and have to fight up until the winner. And sometimes some series take a more interesting approach than others. The Chunin exams is an example. The Grand Magic Games from Fairy Tail is an example. But anyway, so basically the final stage, the third exam, or the third exam, is a month out. So the advancing ninja have a month to train. And so since Kakashi has 2 who advanced, he takes on Sasuke's training while relegating Naruto to sort of a educational-oriented ninja named Ebisu, who is eventually replaced by Jiraiya. So this arc also introduces Jiraiya, who will become Naruto's mentor. And how Jiraiya is introduced is interesting. Um, one of Naruto's techniques is designed to really, in a way, humiliate perverts. And Jiraiya is a super pervert. And basically, he agrees to train Naruto, which largely involves summoning and relying or beginning to rely on the Nine-Tailed Fox's chakra. And so the finals come. Sasuke is missing. He's supposed to go up against Gaara. Naruto faces Neji in an awesome fight. It's really well done. And Shikamaru faces Tamari in another really good fight. And there's also hints of a build up towards conflict between Konoha and its seeming allies, Suna or Sand and Sound. So anyway, so it was really fun, and I normally show you images of this. So there's like Sasuke waking up. And there's a scene with Gaara. Oh, and this is a really good one too, right there. Gaara is one of my favorite characters, as is Kabuto. He's one of my favorite villains from the series. See here, I think that's all for this one. Let's see here. Okay, so they'll go like that. See here. Oh. So anyway, I'm trying to find some more images to show you, but you hear some of Kiba's techniques. And here's a pissed off Neji. Also using his technique. So the Hyuga clan has the ability to see chakra. So there's more of the cousins fight. And then there's more of Gaara. Yeah, that's a really cool one. And then there's that. So yeah, these were fun. I also want to get so this here is Jiraiya. Let's see if I can Oh, here's a nice one of the village with the Hokage faces carved into the mountain. And then there's Naruto successfully summoning Gamabunta. Yeah. So yeah, these 12 volumes were really fun. And then here's some of the fight between Naruto and Neji. And one of the great things about some of Naruto's fights is when he gets into a confrontation with a character who's his foil or an opposite. There'll be a bit of a kind of a philosophical debate, a bit of a martial therapy going on, where Naruto will change his opponent's mind from a more negative way to a more positive way. And that's really interesting. And that's especially well shown in the Neji fight. Anyway, so then I read 6 volumes of Magi the Labyrinth of Magic by Shinobu Utaka. This is volume 15. I read through volume 20. So these volumes cover the Magnoshustadt arc. Okay, so Magi the Labyrinth of Magic is a series inspired by the 1001 Nights. And it's about a young magi, a young super wizard named Aladdin who travels the world looking for friends. He finds one in a young cart driver named Alibaba, who is more than he seems, who aspires to capture a dungeon, and they're joined by a former slave named Margiana. So in this arc, they've split up and they don't meet each other again for a year. Aladdin has gone to Magnoshustadt to train to be a better wizard at their academy. So Magnoshustadt is a magocracy. The magicians of this world, or of the former kingdom of Musastem, have basically taken over and have relegated the mundane population to second-class citizenship at best. And those are mundanes who have certain skills. But most of the population have been relegated to slums underneath the capital city. And so part of Aladdin's mission, beyond just learning how to better control his powers and to be more versatile as a wizard, as a magi, is to figure out what's going on. Another young student from the Riem Empire has come on a similar mission. His name is Titus. So at the same time this is going on, Alibaba has gone to the Riem Empire to learn how to better fight and to be able to jinn equip, to embody the jinn that has that was in charge of the dungeon that he and Aladdin captured earlier in the series. And Morgiana has gone to the Dark Continent to try to find the other members of her people. So while all of this is going on, Magnoshustadt is in a bit of a bind, because on the one side, to the west, is the expanding Riem Empire, in part led by the Magi Scheherazade, and to the east is the expanding Ko Empire, who has as its magi the corrupt Judar. And at this time, the emperor of the Co-Empire has conveniently died, and his widow has taken over the throne. And basically, events spiral out of control, and the Riem Empire launches an invasion of Magnoshustadt, and then the Co-Empire kind of takes advantage of that. Although, I guess it was ultimately whoever made it there first was going to invade, and that results in Magnoshustadt as leader, Metal Mogamat, unleashing a secret weapon. And this arc is amazing. It was amazing. I absolutely love these volumes. And I don't know when I'll be able to get back to Magi because I have a bit of an issue with some of the later series. Well, I have like 3 volumes left, but anyway, so let's get some good. So here's Alibaba fighting in the arena. See, there's Scheherazade. See, here's a wonderful chapter cover. So in the magazines in which these series are serialized, this cover would have been illustrated or kind of like colored. So there's Mogamat and one of the princes of the Co-Empire, the delightfully psychotic Koha. See, there's Hakuryu trying to find his mother. The Co-Empire is rather toxic, although that, I guess, comes from the fact that they're largely the puppets of a organization called Altamen, which seeks to destroy the world. And then here's the first meeting of Aladdin and Titus. And here's some of the fight between Aladdin and Titus. And it is a really brilliant arc. I had so much fun with it, and so many of the characters are amazing. The friends that Aladdin meets in Magnoshustadt, but also sort of there's a scene in the during the war part of the arc where it is just Aladdin has some really awesome moments. And there's that. me go find that real quick. And then the end of that arc is just amazing. So there's the Riem Empire's uh, Fenaris core. And there's the Ko Empire and their army. Okay. But yeah, there's a scene in this where Aladdin gets involved, and it is amazing. I'm wanting to try to show some of that. Oh, there's that. Yes, that is amazing. And there's that. And it's just that is just oh. And then I want to show you the so this is Alibaba in full chin equip. Yeah. So there's that. It was just I had a these were some great volumes. But unfortunately I am now stuck because I don't have volume 21. So I have all but 3 volumes, 21, 26, and 27. And I don't know exactly when I'm going to get them. I could, I guess, pick up like buy e-copies of them as placeholders until I can find those final 3 volumes, or maybe at some point those final 3 volumes will come available. I mean, hopefully Powell's will provide. They have provided in the past. I had for a while been stymied by a lack of volume 8, but eventually Powell's provided that one, and about a month or two ago there was a whole slew of volumes that had been previously unavailable that came in, so maybe I'll be able to pick them up from now. So this video is starting to go on way too long. So what am I going to be reading for the next 4 days, which I forgot to pull it down, so let me do that real quick. And hopefully it does not fall down. Okay, so I'll be reading today, the weekend, and Monday 18 volumes of Tolapan Hanagakun. Volume 18 came out last week, and instead of just reading that volume, I'm going to read all of it. So Tolapan Hanagakun is a series about a young woman named Nene who goes to a haunted school. She's told that if she goes to a specific toilet stall and performs a set ritual, she will be able to summon the spirit known as the Tolapan Hanako-san and be granted a wish. She does so. Hanako is not the traditional form of this ghost, which is that of a young woman, but of a young boy, Amane, so he's Hanako-kun. He grants the wish, it goes poorly, and in exchange for saving her, Nene becomes Amane's assistant, regulating the relationships between the living and the supernatural at the school. Joining them is a trainee exorcist named Ko, who initially tries to exorcise Amane but later becomes friends with him and Nene, and they go on adventures at the school related to the various ghosts. This series is amazing, and I'm really looking forward to reading all 18 volumes that are currently out, and hopefully future volumes will be coming out soon. Well, one thing about the series is that it is monthly, and since the chapters are pretty much standard size for a more weekly series, although I'm not entirely too sure about how like page counts for monthly, like individual series page counts for monthly manga series. But these Tankobon, or these volumes, include about 8 chapters. So rather than several releases a year, which a weekly series would have, or a series that has like a longer page count but fewer chapters in a single volume, which could come out multiple times a year, Tolapan Hanako-kun, I think, roughly comes out once a year, but maybe there might be 1 year in which 2 volumes can come out. I think I need to actually look into that because I'm really looking forward to volume 19 and more. But anyway, so that's Tolapan Hanako-kun, which I will, I guess, put back until I'm ready to start reading. So I'll be right back. That is one thing about that headboard bookcase. I mean, that wall shelf bookcase is that sometimes books can kind of tip over and fall down. Because that's happened over to this one too. Anyway, so once those are done on Monday, for the first 2 days of August, Tuesday and Wednesday, I plan to read 2 slim volumes of poetry that were going to be for my back to school reading project and Women in Translation Month. So I'll be reading Night Journey by Maria Negroni and The Poetess Counts to 100 and Bows Out by Ana Enriqueta Terran. And the translators are Anne Twitty and Marcel Smith. So I'm not entirely sure what I want to read on Thursday or Friday. I haven't quite decided. I'm tempted to just let my whims and moods take over and just read whatever kind of comes to mind rather than having a set reading plan. But anyway, BookTube, this video is going far longer than I anticipated. So I'm going to go ahead and sign up for now. Hopefully I will be able to make videos every day next week. I know there's going to be my July book haul some tag videos. Hopefully there'll be new tags coming out over the next few days because I do enjoy doing tags. Or I guess what I could do is go through some of the tags I've saved up or that came out like before I started being a booktuber, or that I just saved and never got around to doing. That if they don't have the prompts or questions in the tag, I could just go ahead and write them out myself. I might do that, and anything else that comes to mind. So, in Booktube, that's all. I see you next week. Thank you. Have a great afternoon and evening and weekend, and stay safe.